The importance of being serious when giving a command to your dog. It's easy to think that your dog can understand what you're saying, but he doesn't necessarily know the difference between a serious command and one meant in jest. That's why it's important to always be serious when giving commands, otherwise, he might start ignoring your commands entirely or just doing as he pleases whenever you tell him not to do something, resulting in all sorts of problems down the road. What should we say when giving commands? When you give a command to your dog, it is important that you sound like you mean what you say. Dogs will follow the tone and words in your voice rather than the meaning behind them if they're unsure about whether or not to obey. There are a few different things you can do in order to establish that serious tone while giving commands. One way is to use a firmer voice and make eye contact with your pup. Another technique is to walk over with confidence so that he knows he's doing something wrong without being told. And another way is to say no before he does anything bad, example, jumping on the couch. That word alone should be enough for him to know that this isn't acceptable behavior. It's also important to praise your pup when he obeys a command, even if it's just sitting down when asked. Should we be angry or serious when giving commands? The answer is always yes. You should always be serious when giving commands, even if you know the dog will obey no matter what. Let's say a dog is eating something they shouldn't be eating, like poop, and you tell them no but they don't listen. If you don't appear serious, then they might think it's okay to do it again because they didn't get into trouble that time. If you are angry and mean-looking when you give commands, then your dog won't want to disobey you because they'll be scared of getting yelled at or bitten. Now that we've learned about the importance of being serious with our dogs, let's take a look at how we can teach them some new tricks. Can commands be given in different tones? The tone of your voice is important because it conveys the seriousness with which you wish for your command to be carried out. Many pet owners often think that it's alright for them to say down in a high-pitched, excited voice. This can lead their dog to believe that they will get a treat if they comply, which can make compliance less likely as time goes on. Is there a difference between verbal, nonverbal, and physical cues? It is important to know that the cues you use when giving a command can differ depending on how they are interpreted by your dog. Verbal commands, nonverbal commands, and physical cues are all different types of cues that you should be aware of in order to better communicate with your pup. Physical cues include signals given by hand or body movement. Nonverbal commands may consist of gestures and touch, as well as other senses such as smell. For example, if you want your dog to come to you, lifting your arm up might give them an indication that it's time for them to come closer. You may also verbally tell them that it's time for them to come close by saying come here or over here. Nonverbal commands can also be used for training purposes such as using gestures for sit and stay before physically enforcing these movements if necessary. How do we get our dogs to understand that being serious means they need to listen? There are two main ways to get your dog to obey commands when you say them with a serious tone. 1. Associating the command with something that makes the dog dislike it. 2. By physically commanding the dog. For instance, if you would like your dog not to come running every time they see you, have them associate coming over too quickly with being stopped or getting scolded. You can accomplish this through using their name and saying no in a firm voice. If you would like your dog to do what you tell them as soon as possible, then use physical force when giving the command. When you give a strong enough tug on their leash, for example, the dog will know it means for them to listen now instead of later. What if my dog ignores me? Dogs are very attuned to our energy and emotions, so if you're feeling doubtful or wishy-washy about giving a command, your dog is likely to pick up on that and ignore you. After all, why should they listen to you if you don't seem confident in what you're saying? If your dog starts ignoring your commands, it's important to take a step back and assess how serious you're being when giving them. Are you using a firm voice? Are you making eye contact? A simple but important tip, in order to get results from your dog. You have to be clear, concise, and most importantly, serious. It's not enough to just say the words, you have to mean them. Dogs can sense when you're not being sincere, and they'll quickly learn to ignore you if they think you're not worth listening to. So next time you're training your dog, make sure you command with conviction.